The Mad Caddies, a ska punk band from Solvang, California, formed in 1995. Their lead singer is Chuck Robertson, and they have 8 studio albums and 3 EPs, with one being a Christmas EP. Of their first album, called Quality Softcore, there was one somewhat notable song. The song is called Preppie Girl. It is a song with a soft intro that then gets harder with sort of a punk sound and with a ska beat playing in the background. This is one of those songs I describe as a 4-star standout. It's interesting, it's not great, and it is worth listening to, especially if you like a lot of ska punk and you want to hear something that stands out. The rest of that album is kind of amateur when it comes to ska punk. They use a lot of ska, kind of typical ska beats and ska rhythms for many of their songs. It's a first album, so you can kind of give them a little bit of credit, but it's not a great album. But their second album, Duck and Cover, although it has a lot of similar sort of what I call 3-star songs with a lot of ska beats that are very typical on it, there are 2 very notable songs that are worth listening to. One is Macho Nachos, which begins with a very strong horn intro, and it also has a very horn based chorus. And it's got some interesting energy to it. The second really good song on the album, in fact, the better of the two, is called Medium Unwell. This is a song with a very good harmonious chorus and some very good riffs. It's their first truly great song, and there's a pattern there. Their next album is probably their best album, and to be honest, one of the best ska albums I've ever heard. It's called Rock the Plank. It is an album with a naval and somewhat pirate theme to it. Now, the first song I would note on this album is a very good song called Shaving Your Life. It's quite fast, has very good riffs, and it's very punk oriented rather than ska oriented. There's another good song called Merry Melody. Again, it's more of a punk song with a big band sound. Some very good riffs in this song, and it's very memorable. There's another song I would note as well called Days Away with a good beat, some great chorus, some background instrumentations that I think might be done with a keyboard, and it kind of reminds me of a surf rock song, although it's not necessarily about surfing. But if you've ever heard surf rock bands, it kind of is in that ballpark. It's a really good song. Now, one of their best songs is the song Bridges, which, again, this is of the top 3 songs, I would say this is 1 or 2, somewhere in there. It's a very fast punk song with a very good instrumental breakdown, guitar and all that in the middle of the song. And it's very, very catchy. And it's one of those songs I'm constantly repeating and wanting to listen to. I feel the same way about Medium Unwell. Those are 2 of their best songs overall, but Bridges is probably better. The next song I would recommend is called We'll Start to Worry When the Cynics Start Believing. Now, this song has very good riffs, a great beat, and a very upbeat ending. The next song is called Weird Beard, which is like a pirate song using the accordion, and it's like a sea song shanty song, especially with a harmonious chorus, like someone who's like a group of pirates would sing in their ship is the best way to describe it. It's kind of weird. It reminds me of some of the songs that Jacob Dylan from Law created, and it feels like something he would write. I don't know, maybe he had a hand in it. But it's a really weird but very interesting song, like sort of a Lovecraftian pirate song. And it's just very amusing to listen to. And then lastly on this album, there's a song called All American Badass. This is a polka and punk rock carnival song. Really fun to listen to, and just overall great, great vocals, and it's amusing, and I enjoyed it a lot. Overall, this, like I said, Rock the Plank is one of my favorite ska punk albums of all time. Definitely listen to the whole album. There's some songs that I think are kind of so-so on there, but there's so many good ones that it's hard to ignore that album. Now their follow-up, Just One More, isn't quite as good, but it does have some good songs. One is called Silence. This is a heavy punk song with a good ska beat to it. It's got a lot of energy to it, and it's very much worth listening to. They have another song called Day by Day. Again, a very energetic chorus. It's very catchy. It's one of those songs amongst this band's discography I constantly find myself listening to. And then they have a song called Leaving with some pretty good energy to it, a great beat, and some fun riffs. As you go on to their next album, which is called Keep It Going, there was a four-star song called Pyramid Scheme. It has a decent beat to it and some fun energy, but it's not a great song. It stands out amongst some of the other songs where they kind of go back to just using a lot of ska beats that you hear on a lot of ska songs, but it's interesting. They have another song called Writing for a Fall. This is a reggae oriented ska song, much more reggae than a lot of their other material. It's actually a love song with kind of a soft beat to it, but it's really interesting. And then finally on this album, there's a song called Whatcha Gonna Do. It's acoustic, it has a harmonious chorus, it's very soft, but it's very interesting. And it's, again, one of those songs I often listen to when I'm listening to the Mad Caddies amongst all their songs that, they put out. Now, their next album is called Dirty Rice. I don't necessarily recommend this album except for the song Drinking the Night Away. The rest of the songs are sound to me like B-sides. They just kind of put it together, and it sounds like a lot of typical ska where there's always this kind of same ska beat in the background. This song, however, has a more of an acoustic intro and another one of those harmonious choruses that's you can kind of sing to, and it sounds like a bar song. It kind of literally, it's a drinking song. It's something that you'd hear an entire bar singing or singing to, or another people that are on a boat singing to, that kind of song. It's really fun and it stands out amongst that album, which the rest of the album is really forgettable for the most part. Now, their seventh album is a cover album called Punk Rock Steady. Of all their albums, I think it's probably their second best album. Where, although it is a cover album in general, I would recommend their song Alien 8. This is a Joey Cape cover from Ladwagon. It has a good ska beat, and ordinarily the original song was much more punk oriented. There's some interesting works with different horn instruments in there, and it's interesting despite the fact that it's moving away from hard punk and going into ska. I think there's a song called She. This is a Green Day cover from their album Dookie. It's kind of one of their more well-known songs. Mad Caddies adds a very strong ska beat to it. They add some dub to it, and it's quite slow compared to the original, but it's still really good. They definitely put a lot of effort into coming up with a good version of She, using a lot of ska instead of just punk. There's another song called She's Gone, and this is a four-star. It has Amy Allen of the Interrupters, who's singing as backup vocals or kind of secondary vocals. It has kind of a slow beat, and it's actually a NoFX cover. Not really their best song, but it's an interesting song, and it kind of has some dark lyrics to it if you kind of look into the song in general. And following this, you have the song Sorrow, a Bad Religion cover. It is a ska beat and a heavily influenced by reggae, way less punk and folk oriented than the original song Sorrow. Sorrow is a very sad song, obviously, and it's very different from what Bad Religion normally would do, or at least it moves away from hardcore punk and it's much softer and more of a slow beat song in general. But in this case, it's much more of a slow beat reggae ska punk song, but it's really well done. There's another one which I'll see if I can pronounce it right. 2Rack 005. It probably is pronounced differently. This is a Bracket cover. It's probably Bracket's best song and most well-known song, but this is a slower version of the song with a ska beat, and it's also very well done on this album. And then lastly on this album is the song AM. This is a Tony Sly cover from some of his solo material. It's a four-star. It's not bad. It's not great. It's kind of a soft song, and again, it moves in the more ska punk direction. Now, last album in the list is Arrow Room 117. This is the most recent album that came out about a year ago. It's quite the departure from their normal sort of ska punk and reggae orientation and moving towards more cowpunk ska. There's a lot of country influences on this album. It kind of reminds me strongly of like a ska version of Social Distortion. The lead single, title single of Air Room 117 is a 4 star. It has a slow beat. It's kind of drawn out, and it's far less ska than you might be used to if you listen to the Mad Caddies a lot. Much more of a ska punk song, or sorry, a cowpunk ska song with ska. Their following songs, I'll note as well, Baby, another 4 star. It's got a very steady beat. It's again another cowpunk song. I'd say that the song Darkness is very similar. It's very slow, it's very cowpunk, but it's not bad. It's the same thing with Everything You Go, There You Are. Same thing, a 4 star song. It's cowpunk. It's good. It's just not great. There is a song called Run, which is again another cowpunk song, like many of the things in this album, but it's one of the better songs on the album, and it kind of stands out amongst the other songs. It is more of a love song, but it's very interesting in comparison to some of the other songs, which are good but not great. This stands out. And the best song on the album, and probably still one of their best songs they've ever created, is the song Backroads. This has a very nostalgic feel to it. It's another one of those cowpunk ska songs, and it's interesting. And especially considering that the album is such a departure from their earlier material, they're still able to create very memorable songs that are worth checking out and digging around for. Now, their EPs are not particularly notable. I didn't care for their Christmas album EP very much, and they had a couple of other loose EPs that are just kind of forgettable. They do have a rare song from, well, essentially a Sublime. It's a Sublime cover. It's the song New Song. This is one of those where I'd say it's a 4 star or maybe a 4.5. I've never been a huge fan of the song New Song. It's decent, and I feel like Mad Caddies did a good cover of it considering the source material. It's not one of Sublime's best, but it's a pretty good song in general, and it's a pretty good ska punk cover of them in general. Now, finally, as you kind of go on, I would rate this band as a 4.5 out of 5. They're not amazing, like they're not the best band I've ever heard, but they're pretty close. They're one of the best ska bands I've really ever heard in general. I think they were very underrated, considering how much good music they have. They have a lot of energy throughout many of their songs. There are B-sides, and their first album was very so-so, for example, but in their second album got better, and then they kept getting better, or going a little bit up and down, and they've really produced a lot of good material. They don't just rely on a typical ska beat, they really branch out, and their music feels like a varied mix of ska and ska punk, punk rock. Sometimes they go hard into the punk rock. Sometimes they move all the way back towards reggae, and other times, like I said recently, they go into cowpunk, which is a departure, but very interesting. Now, guys, if you like these videos and you want to see more of them, please like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm and it helps get more videos out.